Hey, good morning, everybody. This is Lawrence again, Power Washing Pros, Newport News, Hampton, Virginia. Today's Saturday. I'm not doing any work today. Actually, just uh, doing a checkup, a follow checkup with my doctor here on a Saturday. Um, Things have been going pretty well. We've been pretty busy. Past couple of weeks, we've been getting a lot of phone calls, and I am very grateful for that because it's getting a lot cooler, uh, and during the cool season, we don't get as many calls for pressure washing and house washing work, but we do start to get an increase with gutter cleaning. That's a big profit margin for us, gutter cleaning. I hate gutter cleaning when the gutters are full of ice. I don't like to do that. I had one of my guys last year. Two of them. They were on a job on a repeat customer's house doing a gutter cleaning, and there was ice about maybe a quarter-inch thick in the bottom, and my cleaning tech, the helper, he was like the helper. The other guy was the lead tech. I told him that I gave him like a pole to break it up a little bit. But what he did was, instead of jabbing at it, the ice sideways, he was ramming it up and down straight, bam, bam, bam. And I think I was busy. I was sitting in my truck in the front, making some phone calls or checking on my emails. And I had no idea that he was actually busting holes in the bottom of the gutter, like little slit holes. I mean, there was a whole bunch of them. The lady called me and told me about it, about the damage that was done to her gutters. So I came out there and I looked at it, and it was bad. So I had to pay to have the gutters replaced. I don't know how many feet it was, maybe 60, 70 feet of gutters. It was on a one-story. I looked somebody up on Google and found a reasonable person. It cost me $500 to have the gutters replaced on that house. So it was a lesson learned. So I just decided from now on, I mean, if there's ice in the gutters, don't even mess with it. I have a buddy, his name is David. He has his own pressure washing company, Just Right Cleaning. David Dean. He was telling me that at times they have ran water into a gutter that they needed to clean in the wintertime, and the warmer water melted the ice. So I'm thinking about trying that method. I got into the exterior cleaning business a little bit over 6.5 years ago. Before I was doing this, I was working in the shipyard. I was a certified welder. I had 12 welding certifications of different metals. I was also a pipe welder, working on Navy ships, welding up pipes, steam pipes, water pipes, fuel pipes, all kinds of pipes, oxygen pipes. I was also a certified brazier, and I was a pipe fitter specialist. I was a fabricator and a welder, and I was also a supervisor. I worked my way up to a supervisor. When I was in the shipyard, I was making pretty good money back then. But I felt like I needed more to support my family. So for quite some time, I started advertising for mobile welding services on Craigslist. So after work or either on the weekend, I would get phone calls for people that needed either welding fabrication or something fabricated and welded, or a welding repair that needed to be done, and I would have my mobile welding equipment. I bought all of my mobile welding equipment from Northern Tools back then. I still have it, and I still may do an occasional job every so often, but very random do I do. And I was doing pretty well with that. I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur. I've always had that entrepreneur spirit. Not always, but I would say probably maybe in my mid 30s, I started to develop that entrepreneur spirit that, you know, I need to work for myself. I want to be my own boss. I don't want to work for somebody else for the rest of my life, even though there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, that's great, especially if you have to support your family. But I was doing the mobile welding services for quite some time, and for businesses and residential. And I got a phone call while I was in the shipyard. This guy needed some services done to his trailer. He had in Virginia Beach. His name was Paul Carmody, Power Clean Pros. That was the name of his company. I still speak to him today occasionally. He's been pretty busy. He's been doing the exterior cleaning for, I don't know, 28 years. The guy is going to be 71 years old next year. Phenomenal shape. It just amazes me how much energy he has. Anyways, he called me and asked me if I could do some welding repairs on his trailer, his pressure washing trailer. I came there and we talked. He expressed his faith to me that he was a Christian, a born-again Christian, and that he was a follower of Christ. And I mean, he was so pleasant to talk to when I first started talking to him. So I did all these welding repairs on his trailer, and then he called me and asked me to come back and do some more welding repairs. I did. We became a little bit closer, talked a little more, and I think a third time I came back and did some more welding repairs on his pressure washing trailer. And I didn't know anything about house washing. I knew of pressure washing, that people only knew of the high pressure method of, you know, that's what I understood it as in my concept. That pressure washing was just with a high pressure tip. You just clean a surface like brick and stuff like that, driveways, with a high pressure tip. I didn't know anything about soft washing. So anyways, Paul, the pressure washing guy, he said, you know, Lawrence, I know you do welding to the side. I think, I can't remember correctly, but I think I remember what he said. He had said, you know, you can make some good money pressure washing. I said, really? He said, yeah. He said, I've been doing it for so many years, you know, 2.5 decades. He said, you should come out with me on some jobs. He said, I've only trained one other person in my whole career. I don't share this with too many people, but he said, I've gotten to know you, and I just want to show you how this is done, and maybe you can make more money doing exterior cleaning instead of welding. I said, sure. He said, only on one condition. You see, this is the condition. This is funny. I lived on the peninsula side, the Newport News, Williamsburg, and Hampton side, and he lived on the Virginia Beach side, Virginia Beach, Norfolk, Chesapeake side. When I say side, that I mean there's the Chesapeake Bay River divided the south side, which was Virginia Beach and all them other cities over there, from the peninsula side, which is the side I'm on, Newport News and Hampton and Williamsburg. And there was a bridge tunnel that connected two locations. You would have to go over the bridge and through a tunnel under the water, back up to the bridge and cross over to the other side of the water. The tunnel was for the Navy ships and commercial ships and cruise ships to cross over. It was a major military base over there, NOB, Naval Operations Base. The biggest Navy base in the world is in Virginia, Norfolk, Virginia. He said, as long as you do the work on that side of the water, I'm cool with training you. I said, okay, no problem. So when I was in the shipyard, I would ask him, hey, look, I would ask my boss, my major boss, main boss, I need to take a day off. I would take a day off, or half a day off. I would take a half a day off, go meet Paul with Power Cleaning Pros out on a job somewhere. I was watching. I'm pretty good at observing and paying attention and asking questions. It's very important to do that. You can miss stuff if you don't. Try to pay attention to detail. If you don't understand, ask questions. Then get to understanding. So I did that for quite some time with him. I would take half days off in the shipyard and go with him, meet him on jobs in Virginia Beach and Chesapeake, etc., and get this training from him. And I actually really enjoyed working outside, working on residential places with Paul at the time. It kind of gave me a break from the shipyard environment, from wearing a hard hat all day long. In a shipyard, I just felt like a number, you know. They had pretty strict rules. There are safety rules, which is good. We all need safety. So I started to like it more and more and more, and I started learning a little bit more about it. And then he offered me one of his old pressure washing machines, a hot water rig. So he said, you can pay it off in installments. He sold it to me used for like $800. I would come out there and work for him on jobs and pay it off that way, you know, by working for him, doing work for him at that time. So I had that rig in the back of a small pickup truck, and I was pretty ignorant not to strap the thing down. So I was traveling with it over there in Hampton, and somehow turned a sharp corner and the whole rig flew out and pretty much messed it up, damaged it. I was pretty upset. So I didn't know what to do. So I went ahead and bought a used pressure washer, a piece of junk. I advertised for pressure washing. I started advertising on Craigslist for pressure washing, like I did with welding. I got my first job. So I took the pressure washer out there, the used piece of junk pressure washer out there on the first job, and it wouldn't even start. I was so embarrassed. And I was up on this house. This house had this trim around it. It was a brick house, I believe. It had trim all the way around. It had the green algae on there. So the only way that I could clean it at that time is that I had a pump-up sprayer. So I had to climb the roof all the way around and reach over on the side of the roof and spray that bleach and water mix on all the white trim. I was really naive back then. You know, I didn't know anything, but I knew that bleach would work, so that's what I used when I had a broken power washer. Then I begged my father to loan me some money to buy a pressure washer, and he did. We went to Northern Tools. We got one of those 4-gallon per minute machines with the cap pump, a Honda GX 390, I believe. 4-gallon per minute. And I started using that. And I had a downstream injector. I kind of halfway understood how to use a downstream injector. But I put it on and I tried to spray a house with it, and I had no idea that you needed a certain tip, a certain nozzle opening, at least a 25 orifice on up in order for it to pull, to siphon the chemical. And I was so frustrated. I could not understand why I was not drawing soap. I was using the wrong tips at the time. Really small, high pressure tips. I had no idea, no clue. I didn't even know anything about YouTube videos. But I knew what an X-Jet was, and I knew that Paul used an X-Jet and that he had used it to clean things before with an X-Jet, carrying a bucket around in X-Jet. And I knew that worked perfectly. So I went and got an X-Jet from Paul. He gave me an X-Jet on one condition, that I did one of the house washes for him. He would give me an X-Jet because he had a couple of them. So I did that house wash for Paul, and I got that X-Jet from him, and that's all I used was an X-Jet for like 2.5, 3 years. I X-Jetted all of the houses. Never even used a downstreamer. I was just disappointed in the downstream method at the time because I was naive and I did not understand the concept of how it really worked. But I used an X-Jet, and I cleaned all of my houses with an X-Jet, and it was really super fast because the X-Jet does put out a little bit stronger chemical than what a downstream injector was. But I had to carry a bucket around a lot. And Paul, Power Clean Pros, he also cleaned all of his roofs. He did the roof stain cleaning with the X-Jet. He did not use 12-volt pumps. He didn't even know what that was. He didn't know about that method, and neither did I. So I started cleaning roofs, as I have shown you guys in a couple of my videos. Maybe I think it was one of the videos on how you can clean a roof with an X-Jet using the chemicals versus the 12-volt pumps. Of course, I use the 12-volt pumps now. But I did that for 3 years, and then I started learning new things, a lot of new things on different methods of cleaning, exterior cleaning. I got into the 12-volt pumps, and then I started downstreaming. I knew the right concept on how to downstream. Through trial and error and many hours of reading forums, many hours of doing the research, lots of trial and error and learning methods on my own. And I really enjoyed using the downstream injector more so than the X-Jet because I didn't have to carry a bucket. I knew how to do it, and I got really good at using the downstream injector. Of course, I still used the X-Jet. If I wanted to do a really super fast clean and get out of there, I would use an X-Jet every so often when I was behind. But that's how I got into it, and the business just grew after a few years to where I was able to hire a couple of guys. I started off with one guy, and then it grew to where I was able to put my foot out and pay for advertising. Now, I used to advertise for a magazine called Money Clip back then, and then they changed the magazine over to City Saver. I was getting a lot of calls through that magazine, which was a cheap advertisement, but they're no longer in business anymore. They went out of business. The owner, Ron, he decided to sell it. And then Paul introduced me to a lady by the name of Laura Scott. She runs an advertising marketing company, and I got with her, I signed a contract. I've been with her for the past 4 years, to where mailers, she sends mailers out with my card, with my logo and my services on the card, to like 80,000 people. High-end homes, I think like 300,000 and up as far as the neighborhoods, the cost of homes. They don't send it to like the areas that have really, really low income. They don't work like that. They send it to higher end neighborhoods, and she sends it out. She sends my cards out 4 times a year to every 2 months, every 6 weeks or 2 months, to 80,000 people 4 times a year. This year, this is the first year that she's decided to do a 5th mailing for those who wanted to do a 5th mailing. So I decided to do it, which the cards went out in October, and we're actually doing pretty good. So I think I'm going to do it again next year. It's a little bit more costly, but hey, I think the return on my investment is, our investment is pretty good. Of course, my wife, Nicola, she helps me with the business. She's, I would entitle her as the service coordinator. We have 2 business phones with 2 different numbers. She keeps those business phones, and a lot of times she'll, when she's home and the little one is in daycare, or not daycare but preschool, she will answer them calls, and she'll get their information. She has a price list. A lot of the work she can quote over the phone, unless it's a huge project. That's when I go out in person, or she goes out in person. So we have a system going as far as pricing, and we've been doing pretty well together as a team. I'm just so blessed and fortunate to have a wife like Nicola, and she's very, very smart. She's very business minded, and she keeps me straight. Thank God for her. The Bible says, "He who finds a wife finds a good thing in the Lord." It's a blessing from the Lord to have a good wife who has a good knowledge, and she takes care of the home, and she's a godly woman, a praying woman, and she's a great mother. I thank God for her. But that's how I got into this business a little bit over 6.5 years ago, and it's grown. I've learned a lot over the years. I'm still learning. I'm still even not only learning but developing techniques that I've developed on my own. I try to pass that on to different people. But I just wanted you guys to know a little bit about my background. Coming from the shipyard, 20-some years, almost 20 years experience in the shipyard as a welder, and I first started off as a fabricator, a pipe fabricator, and then I got into structural fabrication. I used to read a lot of blueprints and drawings when we were doing piping systems or structural systems on ships, Navy ships. I also worked a lot of the commercial ships as well. And then I got into the welding certifications afterwards. First, after I became a fabricator, then I became a welder. So in other words, I became a combo person, a fabricator, welder. Anything on my trailer, I pretty much do myself as far as my own fabrication and welding. But that's a little bit about my story, and just wanted you guys to know where I came from, and that God has been good to me. He's been good to my family. I've made a lot of mistakes. I still make mistakes. We're not perfect. Only Jesus Christ is perfect, and only He can provide a way for us to have eternal life through Him, through His redemptive blood that He shed on the cross for our sins. That's very important. The devil just wants to keep blinding us from the truth. He'll do anything he can to steer us away from the cross, whether it's money, material things, satisfying our own selfish desires. He'll put all these temptations out in front of us to keep us away from the cross, because he wants us to go to hell. He does not want us to come to salvation. The devil came, he is nothing but a liar and a thief and a robber. He came to steal, kill, and destroy. Jesus Christ, he came to give us life, and to give life more abundantly. Jesus said in his word that he said, I am the way, I am the truth, and I am the life. No man, nobody comes to God the Father except through him. He's the only way. And he proved it through the miracles that he did. When he rose the dead, he raised the dead, he opened the blind eyes, he made the dumb to speak, he opened deaf ears. He did many, many miracles in the Bible. He even walked on water. And he rose from the dead on the third day. He did all these things to show people that he did come from God, and that he was the Son of God, and that he is the only way to God. So I just wanted to share that with you guys. So I hope you guys are doing good, and you guys have a blessed week. God bless you.